Every day I get asked if certain wrestlers are going to AEW. I'm not sure why I would know, but I always like to be involved. The truth is, with 99% of talent, you can never say never. I mean, if I had told you in the late 80s that Hulk Hogan would be in WCW by the mid-90s, you'd have punched me in the face for being a dirty liar, and that would have been fair. It was unfathomable. With that said, there are some individuals who will never turn up in an all-elite wrestling ring. It's genuinely impossible given the state of the world and the relationships involved. But who are these holdouts? Well, don't worry, I'm gonna tell you. I'm Simon from What Culture. This is 10 wrestlers who will never be all elite. Number 10, Baron Corbin. A sad choice really, as the heat he would get in front of an AEW crowd would be lovely. Baron Corbin is a guy that's still splitting WWE audiences right down the middle. Some adore him, some hate him, others actually despise him, forgetting he's just a wrestling character. And sure, it didn't help when he was overbooked in 2018, but that was 2018. I ain't living in the past. It's when you look back at his accolades where I think all this starts. He has been Mr. Money in the Bank, won the King of the Ring, claimed a US title, and was chosen as the guy to end Kurt Angle's career. Corbin is also a constant on television, which is what most performers want. It's when you vanish that the problems start. You'd have to guess that at some point in the future he will be WWE Champion too. He ticks all the boxes from their point of view, and when you know that's coming, you don't jump ship. On top of that, Baron hasn't shied away from letting his feelings known about AEW. Even yelled at some fans on social media who praise it, and while he's definitely doing this to wind people up, you'd have to imagine there may be a smidgen of truth. Corbin was also a product of the NXT system, and I do think there's some loyalty there, even though that doesn't mean much in wrestling. Unless something truly monumental goes down, I would say the current king is a WWE lifer. Good for him. Not a bad position to be in. Number 9, Heath Slater. Or so was the case recently. It seemed obvious to me that Cody Rhodes was teasing his friend Heath Slater when he said this, but hey, the words were mentioned, so we shall talk about it. But during an Instagram Live Q&A session, the chances of Mr. Slater being hired by AEW was brought up, to which Cody said, "Nope, it's a no on Heath Slater." This sent the internet into a meltdown, as those who had rolled their eyes at the thought of All Elite hiring ex-WWE guys then got mad that All Elite wasn't going to hire ex-WWE guys. The truth of the matter is, no one booking a wrestling company would rule anybody out. What if Heath manages to become the hottest thing in the industry with fans clamoring to see him? You may chuckle at that, but it's what Sun said about Cody himself. The real obstacle blocking Slater is the sheer amount of names out there right now. You'd have to think Rusev and Zack Ryder are in front of him at the moment, and to bring in all three would be difficult, if not impossible, and you would irk your audience. So it may not be an easy switch for the man with kids, but this isn't his destiny anyway. He needs to get super jacked and return to WWE, where he shall win a world title. That's just what former 3MB members do. Number 8, Seth Rollins. It just seems so unlikely, you know? Seth Rollins is WWE at this point, a role he clearly takes very seriously, as we've seen on social media. He has uttered time and time again he thinks he's in the big leagues and that the best of the best work in World Wrestling Entertainment. While he has slipped up a few times with his approach to this, I still like to see someone so passionate about where they're employed. It's nice. Rollins is also crazily decorated. Not only did he smash it with the Shield, but his first world title run was in the Authority, a main event level stable, and he's beaten the likes of Brock Lesnar. There's a small list. Obviously after this there was all that nonsense with The Fiend, but I think it's within that where we can kinda see he doesn't intend to go anywhere else. There was a few months where the fans turned on Seth with all the power that they had. If anyone was going to have second thoughts, it would have been then, but Rollins simply used this, turned heel, and created a new character that not only got the wanted boos, but also threw him back into the title picture. It wasn't one of those moments where he was so frustrated he decided to leave, a la Jon Moxley. Instead, he doubled down and is a constant in WWE. Getting that spot is damn hard too. I don't think he's going to give it up. Number 7, Dolph Ziggler. A risky choice, I shall admit, especially when you consider the stop-start nature of his booking in WWE. Dolph Ziggler has been the world champion, but on both occasions it felt like he was filling somebody else's boots, as opposed to being given the ball and told to run like the wind. It did hurt his credibility, especially when he became a gatekeeper for guys coming up from NXT, and at this point he has been a mid-card mainstay for years. Baffling in many ways. The thing is, WWE knows what they have in Ziggler anyway, or so it's reported. The latest contract he signed is said to be incredibly lucrative and also allows him time away from the ring to do stand-up comedy. so there's every chance he's earning north of $1 million and getting to embrace all his other passions. I'm not sure Dolph has made a mistake here. Ziggler is also approaching his 40s and, as mentioned, has other interests. Seems to make sense to sort your finances out and then shift into the next part of your life. That's not to say he wouldn't make a huge splash in AEW. He's exactly the type of guy who would be beloved instantly. For all the reasons above, though, I don't think we're going to get it. Number 6, The Miz. The Miz is another guy who is just associated with WWE. So dedicated to the company is Mike Mizanin that not even crazy hazing from JBL and Chris Benoit was enough to put him off. He instead dug down deep and wouldn't let anybody stop him, and my word did that work. His journey from the real world to Tough Enough to a pretty damn incredible WWE career is one to be envied, and his constant professionalism has seen him become a go-to guy that will definitely be inducted in the Hall of Fame. He's main evented WrestleMania, won nearly every championship. It's a truly dreamlike tale. He's also a spokesperson for the company today and is always turning up on TV or the radio to promote the brand. Then there's Miz and Mrs., which was developed in conjunction with WWE, and it seems ridiculous he would stop all of that to wrestle in AEW. Doesn't need to. Another guy who will probably be employed for life, The Miz is a great example for how hard work and dedication are everything. He's not done either. He was the Marine for a few years. If there's anything else he wants to do, WWE's probably going to make sure it happens. Number 5, Walter. Walter was the king of the indies as 2020 slowly crept in. He was a dude everybody wanted to see, and he racked up titles wherever he went. It was enough to create significant buzz that both WWE and New Japan started throwing offers his way. Walter being Walter though, well, he turned both down. He didn't want to live outside of Germany, leaving Triple H to say, well, he could be hired for NXT UK and work the occasional USA show. So he was basically a signed-up indie wrestler. With that in mind, it would be tough for AEW to sign him because, again, he doesn't want to leave his home country. He is happy there. It also led to NXT and Germany's WXW forming a partnership, and that has to be because of Walter's influence. He's also on his own schedule, and that's something many wrestlers want but never get. The General may be on WWE's books, but he's still basically doing whatever the hell he wants. Number 4, Charlotte Flair. If we dip into the past, it's not like the name Flair hasn't been synonymous with other promotions not named WWE. Rick was Mr. NWA and WCW, and even after working for Vince McMahon, still found his way to TNA. That was then though, and things are different now. This is why Charlotte has found her place. Having secured 12 championships despite only being 34 years old, the Queen is another successful graduate of the NXT training system that saw her become one of the best in the company. She had zero experience before deciding to follow in her father's footsteps and has made such an impression she's one of WWE's go-to performers. That includes outside work too, with media appearances and interviews seemingly happening every single minute. There's also a more personal reason to this, and it ties into her late brother Reed. When Charlotte was discussing her sibling, she mentioned how his dream was to get to WWE. When he tragically passed away, Flair decided to follow suit, and the rest is history. Very much on the same side of the fence as a Seth Rollins, she has a role so many covet, you don't just let it go. Number 3, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is not going to have another match. Now he will, and I'll look like an idiot, but I saw a picture of him with metal coming out of his back recently. It sounds like a terrible idea. The Hulkster also hasn't wrestled since 2012, which was a 6-man tag match in TNA. That is a long-ass time. For Hogan, the more crucial point is he's finally made up with WWE and is back in their good graces. He's turned up on a few Saudi Arabia shows, said hello at some WrestleManias, and while he may want a final fight with Vince McMahon, well, we just talked about it. And sure, as we said, he has defected to rivals twice before, but that was a very different time. There's also the fact he would probably get a harsh reception if he did walk down an AEW ramp. A lot of that fan base thinks he's the reason why WCW and TNA no longer exist. It would also double down on this idea that AEW is just World Championship Wrestling too, and nobody wants that. History repeating itself would suck here, and would end any chance of Hulk having his dream retirement match anyway. He's done his jumping, he'll stay put. Number 2, John Cena. John Cena is so loyal to WWE, he doesn't even really work there anymore and will still promote the company in interviews. That is pretty darn amazing. Vince McMahon's lead star for over 10 years, the sheer amount of engagements he took on for WWE is enough to make you realize how much he loves them. And unless there's some kind of horrific affair, it will be a relationship that goes on for life. It's not like Cena is blind to any of this either. A master of social media, he has expressed intrigue about wrestling the likes of Kenny Omega, but you know that he wants to do that in a WWE ring. Not saying it wouldn't be brilliant if he turned up in AEW, and I think we can all agree we'd lose our minds, but there is no one more WWE than John Cena. When he throws up, the logo probably comes out of his mouth. John is also immensely proud of both his run and place in WWE history, and the best way to end that would be to join the competition. Probably sees Vince McMahon as some kind of second dad. Forget about this one, it's not a thing. Number 1, The Undertaker. If there was ever an award for greatest WWE employee, it would go to The Undertaker. Since Mark Calloway joined the promotion in 1990, he has had an amazing run, reinventing himself time and time again and remaining a fan favorite throughout. That doesn't just happen. The dead man is special. When you go behind the scenes too, no one is more respected than the Phenom. He's a bridge between management and the locker room, and nothing controversial goes down under his watch unless he allows it. It's like Batman. In short, he has one of the most recognizable names in all of wrestling, and that was made in World Wrestling Entertainment. I mean, look what happened when he was booked for StarCast. Conrad Thompson thought he had Taker sewn up, and WWE went out of their way to stop it happening, and that was just a signing. Undertaker has no need to prove himself anymore and will likely be considered as one of the most important legendary figures in wrestling ever. Why even rock the boat a bit when you've already smashed it so well? Exactly. Know of any other wrestlers who will never be all elite? Make sure you let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, share the video, and hit subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture. I love you all, and I'll talk to you again soon.